Okay, so while I was out here by the boiler, I figured I'd just go ahead and make a video on it. But I'll run this on the next day or whatever. So, is a wood boiler worth the money and the investment? That's a good question. I paid for this with the house. It came with the house that we bought. My understanding is that to purchase it and have it installed, all the labor and everything to hook it all up and everything was like somewhere in the neighborhood of $14,000. So it's a little more expensive than, say, just a regular heater that you could put in your house, right? But if it's a propane heater, which is where we live on propane, we don't have natural gas, you got to always pay that natural gas bill every month. So with this, you have to get firewood for it. So if you live on a wooded lot where you can get firewood for free or whatever, or if you know people who have wooded lots and stuff, then over a series of years, it's going to pay for itself pretty quick. Probably 2-3 years, I would imagine. I don't know exactly, but I figured I'd just take a little bit of time today and show you guys this boiler and how it works, explain to you how it works and everything. So let me kind of reposition you here. All right, so if we open up this door, then you can kind of see what we've got going here. This holds 400 gallons of water. Now they put some additive into the water, some kind of nitrate or something, and I don't really know exactly what it is. You don't have to do it very often though. If you have a technician come out and service it once a year, they make sure all that stuff's right. And he said honestly, you could go for a long time, a couple of years or whatever, without having to worry about it too much. But anyway, it's got a pump here that runs off of 110 voltage, and it's got a plug in there. It's a pretty simple basic little pump, and all it does is it circulates that 400 gallons. There's a big tank up above the burner, and so the heat rises and it warms up all that thermal mass. And then they have these hoses that are about, I don't know, 1.25 or so, maybe 1 inch, that run to the house, and they're encased in insulation all the way down, buried in the ground. And then it goes to a heat exchanger, which I'll show you here in a minute, at the heater, and then it also has a heat exchanger at the water pump. And so it just continually circulates that water, right? And then you have you've got a fuse and an on-off switch. This is the Nitrile Test Kit, to see where your water's at and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got some of the additive if you need to add or whatever. I don't know. I'm not super up to date on all of that part of it, to be honest with you. I need to talk with the technician next time he comes out a little bit more. But so that's that part. And let's take a look at this. So this is, just kind of get you where you can kind of see in there. This is what the boiler looks like most of the time. Okay, it doesn't. When I first started messing with this, I was under the assumption that we were going to be burning a ton of firewood. That it would be a pain in the ass, quite honestly. And it's really not at all. I come out once in the morning and I put in probably 4 quarters or so, just like was in there, and then that'll smolder and burn and off and on all day. And then I come out in the evening and I'll put on maybe a couple more, and then that'll get us through the night. So it doesn't really take a lot. And the idea behind this is that you've got all of that thermal mass. It's all in an insulated area, and it's constantly got this heat under here keeping it hot, and it's being circulated the whole time. It doesn't take a lot to keep it hot. So right now, our water is at 173. Can you see that? Sorry. tripod's in pain. 173 degrees. So this little fire that is essentially, you know, just kind of smoldering along is keeping all that stuff, all that water at 173 degrees. And then when you need, it fluctuates between hold on, I'm gonna get you in a better position. It fluctuates between 160 and 170 degrees roughly. That's pretty much where it stays most of the time. What's it at now? 173. Okay, so maybe 175. But when it needs to add air, it has this electric solenoid right here that'll open up a flue if it needs more air to get the temperature up. And so that's what controls. And then when you have this, the natural draft with the chimney, so it'll suck the air in and it'll start the fire up. I've only started this fire one time since I've had it, and I've been using it for more than a month. That was another thing that was kind of a misconception for me, because I was like, oh, it's going to be a pain in the ass having to go out and start a fire every morning and all this. But you don't have to start the fire. You start it once, and you keep it going all winter, because there's a huge bed of coals in there because of all the previous wood that you've been burning and everything. And so all you got to do is just throw the wood in, and when it wants more heat, it'll open the flue, and naturally the coals are hot enough, you'll get combustion, and it'll start burning the wood. So it's pretty cool. You don't really have to mess with it. You just add wood whenever you need it. I would say that, you know, we probably put in over a 24-hour period, you fill it up like 3 times, right? So once in the morning, once in the evening, and then once in the morning again. And you probably put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 10 chunks of wood, 10 big chunks of like quarters, you know, over that period. So that's not too bad. I mean, it's definitely more efficient than a wood burning stove or a fireplace, from my experience anyway. Now, I've never heated a home with either one of those full time, so I don't have a lot of experience with those, but it seems pretty efficient to me anyway. It feels like it's pretty efficient. But let's go inside. I'm going to show you the heat register for the heater and for the water heater as well. Okay, so when you come in the house here, this is my basement. It's still a mess. I haven't unpacked everything. I've got a couple of valves in an H pattern right there, and basically I can, if I don't want any of the hot water circulating into the house, say like if we have a warm day or something and we just don't need it and it's causing the temperature in the house to rise, you know, to go up, then I can just shut those valves off and it'll just circulate between here and the boiler, and so we won't have anything inside. So that's kind of cool. Although I don't really care for how the pipes are just kind of routed like that. It looks kind of weird. I may have to clamp those down or whatever. We'll see. So this is the hot water heat exchanger, and if you notice, it's just sitting on top of the hot water heater because the water is coming in through here. Then you've got this circulating, these right here circulating with the boiler. Then you have these circulating in line to the water heater. So it's just a little thin plate that it runs, that it keeps hot. You can feel it, it's very hot. And it runs through there, and it just basically heats up the hot water. And let me tell you, our hot water is super, super hot. Like, it can scald you if you really don't even need to run this. But we go ahead and keep it on just so we never have any issues with running out. So it's kind of like an instant water heater, but you've also still got the option to use this one. Now the good thing about this is it just saves the propane use on your water heater as well. Okay, now I'm gonna have to take you off here to get you back to the heat exchanger for this. Okay, let's see if we can work our way back here. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see, but you should be able to. All right, so let me get a flashlight. Okay, so this is the heat exchanger for the house, and I've got a valve right here that I can shut that off if I want to. And all this is it's just a big plate, like a radiator, like a car radiator almost, that is stuck in line with our heater, and it's got a bunch of copper tubes that run through there, and it circulates that hot water through there, and then the hot air passes up through here and heats up, so it heats the rest of the house. So it's a real simple design. You could probably make one yourself if you wanted to. Being good. All right, so that's what a wood burning boiler does. Your benefits are that you don't have the propane cost. You know, you're not burning through. We've been here for 2 months, and I think I burned like 2% of the 1,000-gallon tank. It hasn't moved hardly at all. Let's see. So you don't burn propane, so you don't have that cost. You do have to have wood piled up, so there's some physical labor that you have to do there, which is good for me because it gets out and I get to work out and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's awesome. You don't have the wood burning smell in your house, hey Shepu, that you do with a wood burning stove or a fireplace. So that is kind of nice. The only time that you'll get it, like if the window's open in the bedroom and the wind is coming just right at the right direction, then we can smell it, because you know. But other than that, it puts out so little smoke. Like let me show you how much it's making right now. It's barely even noticeable. You know, at other times when it's burning hotter, you'll have more. But this is a pretty average amount of smoke, I'd say, overall. And it's hardly anything. So that's kind of nice. You have some upfront cost if you're going to put one of these in. But I'd say that over a few years, anyway, it's going to probably pay for itself. And probably in 10 years, it'll completely override the cost, and you'll be making money. You know, so it's a pretty cool little system. I'm glad to have it here because, you know, all we have to do, I could probably run the Kodiak solar generator. My guess is it'll probably run that pump for at least a day. I haven't tried it yet, but I assume that it'll turn that pump, because it ain't drawing hardly anything. All it's doing is just moving that water. So it'd run it for at least a day. So I could get some solar. I've got 300 watt solar panels. Actually, I've got 5 total. If I got them all hooked together, I could probably charge up the Kodiak over the daytime and still run it and charge it, and have the Kodiak to run it at night and still be fine. Then of course you got regular generators and stuff too, which I have a wet line that comes off of my 1,000-gallon propane tank, so I can run the generator off of that if needed be, but that would be silly. But anyway, the point is for a prepping type situation, it's a fairly good option. If you don't have any power, you could run a little inverter, you know, a small little generator, or you could run a solar generator setup or something like that to power the pump off of it. It's a fairly easy situation to figure out how to do that. And like I was saying, inside, you know, if you had the right parts and pieces and you were a fairly crafty person, you could probably figure out how to make one of these things. I mean, it's just a big burn box with a big water tank, have some pressure relief, you know, spots on it so it wouldn't go boom if it got too hot. You got a chimney, run some insulated lines, a radiator. It's literally just like a car radiator. Put in line into your heater. I mean, it wouldn't be that difficult to make probably, but anyhow, that's kind of just an overview of it. I just thought I'd just share with you guys kind of what it looks like and all that kind of stuff and how it works and everything, just in case you're wondering or you've been curious about them before. But I think they're worth looking at. You know, it's I'm glad to have it. So anyway, take care, guys, and don't forget, proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe.